So there was a question about whether or not there was an easier way to air layer a plant. The comment was that the other method was a little difficult for beginners to get it right, or there were just more opportunities to mess up and not do it right. So here's the easier method. The benefit of doing it this way would be if you didn't care about how the roots grew out, and for bonsai, the roots, the radial roots is very important. This method would kind of bias the roots to one side of the package. This is also better for smaller branches as it is quite a bit faster. So yeah, today I'll be showing that method on my bougainvillea. I've let it grow pretty long through the winter so I can air layer it. So we'll get started. First, you have your peat moss. I've got peat moss, and it's been soaking in some water. It takes a while because it's super dry, so it's kind of hydrophobic. So once you get that soaked, we're gonna put it into a bag. We're gonna fill a bag up with this peat moss, and we're gonna tie it off. I'm recording with my phone, so it's kind of hard to do with one hand. So I'm gonna pause, get the package ready, and then show you the next steps. Okay, so what I did was I got the peat moss that has been soaking in water there, and what you want to do is you want to wring it out. You want it moist but not dripping wet. And then I packed it into a small bag here. You can see the size of the bag. It's not very big because the branch, as you can see, is pretty small. So you don't need that much dirt. But then I tied it off at the top there, and I left this long wire on purpose. I'm using, the twisty ties that you can get in the garden center, but you can use any type of binding string. But I left that long on purpose, and you'll see why in a second here. The next thing you're going to want to do is prepare the site. What I've done was I've broken off all of the spines here, and then we're going to remove the bark just like we did in the last video. And once I do that, we'll come back and I'll show you how to place the bag of dirt on there, or bag of peat moss. I decided to describe how to take the bark off so that people who are just watching this video for the first time, haven't seen the other video, can get an idea of what to do without watching the other video. So what you want to do is you want to cut a ring. I don't know if you can see it here. Cut around the bark, and then you'll do another cut, couple 1 to 2 inches up here. And the idea is you're gonna ring the bark here, and then cut a line to connect the two rings, and then you're gonna strip the outside bark. You need to do this because the cambium is what is sending nutrients from the leaves back down to the roots, and you want to stop this from happening so that all the nutrients would kind of stop at where the cut is, and that will force roots to grow out from there. So yeah, I'll do that, and then we'll come back. Then also to note, another thing you want to do after you remove the bark is kind of scrape any leftover cambium off, or else it may want to heal itself. So sorry about the focus here. I don't know why it's doing that, but I'll be back with the bark stripped. Okay, so the bark is stripped here. As you can see, it kind of looks green still, but I think I got all the cambium off. It's kind of weird that it's green, but that's alright. The bark on this bougainvillea didn't come off as easily as some of the other ones in one piece. It is easy to scrape off. I just ended up using my fingernails and scraping all this off, and then coming back in with a knife and just scraping it again and clean it up. And then so how you prepare this is you're going to take a knife, and you're going to cut a slit down the middle here, halfway through the bag. And then what you're going to do is place the branch into that slit, and then use the extra binding here to secure it. The reason why it's I left this extra is because it's already attached to the bag, so then you don't have to worry about holding the bag onto the branch and then trying to start tying the string or whatever. It's harder that way. So with this one you can just start wrapping immediately, and then once you're done you can just tie it off. So I'm gonna attempt to cut this here with one hand, but I may need to turn off the phone and do a better job. Yep, I'm gonna turn it off and try to cut it. Okay, so I cut the slit, and you can see it's all the way from bottom here to where I tied it, so it's half, completely halfway through. And then you're just going to place that inside of here. You can use rooting hormone. I didn't grab it, so I'm probably not going to use it this time. What you want to do is you're going to place this inside here, and then you're just going to tie it around. And then I'll show you how that's going to look like after it's done. And there you have it. It's all wrapped up. I may come back with some tape and just tape it better. As you can see, there's still a little opening here. I don't want it to dry out. Another thing to remember is to keep it out of direct sunlight, because it can get pretty hot and cook the thing. So if you do have to keep it out in the open sun, you can use aluminum foil or a paper bag or something to cover it up so that it doesn't get too hot. We'll see in a few weeks here if I get any roots, and I'll do an update video to show you guys what that's like.